To ensure that you do run a good usability study, there are a couple ways to sort of ensure success. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is not to think too hard about the activities that you ask the participants to conduct. And so you don't want to intentionally trip them up or make it hard for them to do something. I only ever give activities that I know are possible to be done in an interface, because I don't want to make users feel like they're being tested. This is really truly a test of the interface itself. And so by far the best way to think about it is, what are the top things that all our users must be able to accomplish, and can they accomplish those? And sometimes that means breaking things up between different site sections or running a really long study. But it's just thinking, what is the user's goal? So users must be able to purchase products from our website, or they must be able to look up this kind of information. Another way to make sure that your usability study is going to be successful is to make sure that you're testing with your actual users or your target audience. And so I ran a study years ago in my last job where we were testing an auto insurance website, and we had recruited people who made the decision about auto insurance in their household, but somehow this woman had kind of slipped through the cracks from our recruiting agency, and she sat down and we started talking, and I gave her the first activity, and she immediately was like, oh, she kind of looked confused and was like, you know, this is something my husband takes care of. I'm not the one that makes this decision in my household. And so we stopped the study short there and said, well, thanks for coming in. It's really helpful. I actually did end up giving her like 1 or 2 more tasks and asked her a couple questions, because I was curious for someone who has no idea about auto insurance what she would look at. But her insights and findings aren't, she's not a user of the product, so she doesn't make a good participant in the study. One of the additionally hard things in usability testing and watching usability testing is that people like to give their opinions, especially if you and as you do, encourage them to think out loud and share their thoughts as they're working. You'll notice that participants, and some more than others, will have really strong opinions about the design. And so they'll say things like, I really hate the color red. I hate all websites that use red, or I really hate this image. And what you really want to get at is what their expectation was and what they had hoped to see, and why red is interfering with that or impacting that, or why the image has a negative feeling on them, not so much their opinion, but what behavior that draws. So what did that prevent them from doing? Did that distract them? Is there another reason for that comment that they made? And so you're looking way more for the kind of feedback of, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. I wasn't expecting to have to sign in now. I wasn't expecting that pop-up to appear, or I was trying to click on that. I don't know if my click was registered because this image appeared on top of that. I do tend to take notes of their opinions, because it does impact, like if for some reason people have a really strong negative reaction to the look and feel of a website, that does cause usability problems. But I'm much more interested in the things that impede their behavior rather than just not liking something. Moderating usability sessions can be really hard. It's really hard to just take a step back and let the participant go and do, and have them just kind of try to figure it out. You definitely have a tendency to kind of want to step in and help them, especially if they're really nice people and they're struggling to use a system. You want to be like, oh, but just click that button, it's right there, just click it, it's okay, that's the one you want. What I tell myself is to count to 10 before interrupting, before saying anything. And so I ask participants to think out loud at the beginning, and then when they don't, or they're not sharing their thoughts, I still tend to try to wait, because more often than not, they'll kind of vocalize what's happening. There are definitely situations where you have to prompt someone and remind them. So even just saying a simple, like, remember to tell me what you're thinking as you're using this. I like to give that reminder at the beginning of a new activity. Sometimes it helps to say that during an activity as well, or even just any thoughts as they're working. Like any thoughts, if they're not sharing what they're thinking, that one works really, really well. And again, when you're observing sessions, moderating usability sessions, watching recordings, I can't stress this enough, but it's really important to note what's working well. That the point of usability testing isn't just to point out all the things that are wrong, because you're giving advice to the designers, or maybe you're the designer yourself, as to what should be changed to improve the experience. And if we spend the resources changing things that aren't broken, we're wasting our time. So we should be spending the time fixing the stuff that needs to be fixed. And so that's why it's just as important to focus on what's good and what's working well so that that doesn't get changed. This is also really helpful in thinking of future designs, because if you've done X number of usability studies and the way you design sign-up forms just works really, really well, then that kind of becomes your design best practice and your pattern library to use in future designs. The reason for doing an evaluation of a design is to improve it. And so to talk to the design team, whoever that may be, and the engineers, and say, this is what needs to be fixed. So when you're doing usability testing specifically, you want to focus on those high impact changes. What design elements caused people to trip up? And then what did you learn from watching them use the system that can be an idea for an improved change?